What's happening, everybody? Here's another video with your favorite Mr. Cater. This is probably episode 13 in Angular, and in this episode we'll be talking about deployment of an Angular app to a server. Before you get scared of that word, let me just explain what deployment or deploying is in Angular. In the context of Angular or any web application, deploying refers to the process of taking the application code from the development environment and making it available on a server for a user to access over the internet. Remember, we have been working on our app on our specific laptop, and then you have to just say ng-serve, and then you can be able to access it on localhost port 4200. So deploying is a process of taking it from that machine of yours and then put it somewhere so that the world can be able to access it. This involved several steps, include building your app, which means bundling your apps into chunks that can be deployed to a server, and transferring those files to the server, and configuring the server to serve the application to the user. An example of that is our cater.co.za website. You can see it's available on the open or public internet by just typing cater.co.za, and then you can be able to interact with it, view a few content that we've put up on the website, and probably be able to contact us. That was supposed to work. And obviously some of the links is to join our Discord community, which is where you can just ask any other questions. Another example, it's the Puzzle Quest website. You can see this is puzzlequest.co.za, and then you can be able to do whatever you want to do. Many other websites out there, including like your Google, your Amazon, Takealot, and bigger websites that you see out there, had to be deployed so that they were accessible and available to the public. Let's do an example using soldiers in training, serving, and deploying for their country. The first step they need to do as soldiers is train. They need to go training. So soldiers undergo rigorous training to prepare for missions. Similarly, during the development phase, developers write, test, and their code locally to ensure that it works. And the second step is the soldiers go and serve. Once training is completed, soldiers are equipped and prepared for their missions. In Angular, this stage involves building the application to create optimized files that are ready to be deployed and be accessed by public users. And the last stage is soldiers are then deployed to some sort of a mission. So soldiers are sent to the designated locations to perform their mission, which means shoot out, defend for the country, or do whatever mission they have to do. Similarly, the application that we have just built are then transferred to some sort of a web server or a hosting service where they can be accessed by the public user, and which is what we're going to be doing right now. There are so many places where you can deploy your websites, including on render.com, GitHub Pages, and Netlify. I personally prefer Firebase hosting, which is a Google product. On a side note, did you know that before this deployment platforms existed, we used to drag and drop files in a visual VM? Visual VM is basically, it's like a copy of your computer, but that exists within the servers, and anybody else probably in the world can access it. Without having to waste much of our time, let's go ahead and start with this Firebase, and then you click the first link that will pop up, which will take you to firebase.google. Then there will be go to console, and make sure that you do have a Google account, by the way, a Gmail account. So create it's a free one, and then click on create project. This is where all your hosting projects and your database, if you have them, and any other service that Firebase provides would reside under. In my case, I'll call this one Cater Store. Sounds like it's such a beautiful name. I'll name it Tutorial. And then I say continue, and I mostly just said yes to everything, just so that the project can create. It will take little about 5 to 10 seconds to finally create this, and you should be good to go. When it's done, it will tell you that your Firebase project is ready. Click on continue. It will take a few seconds and then starts loading. You see on the left side here, there will be a build section. You click on that, and then you will see somewhere there should be hosting. Then you click on hosting. To take a few seconds to reload, and then say get started. The moment you say get started, it will tell you a few commands to run as you are starting with this. So let's go ahead and start installing these tools. The first command it has suggested that we run, it's the npm install -g firebase tools. This -g will actually install this firebase tools globally. This gives you a CLI that you can use to access any other Firebase service other than just the hosting service. It will take a few seconds to also install, but once it's done, we should be good to go. Don't click this checkbox because we are not going to use Firestore. We're not going to use authentication or any other service. So just click next, and then it will show you the second steps, which is initialize your project. First, it will ask you to log in to Firebase, and then it will ask you also to initialize your project by Firebase init. Before typing the Firebase login command, ensure that the first command or the first script ran successfully. So after it says added one package, removed one package, and added 613 packages in 2 minutes, then you can then type in Firebase login. So with Firebase login, it says that you want this to, I'll just say yes. I always say yes. This to my tab somewhere here, and then do that. For you, you should auto open that, but you can always copy it from the browser directly, and then just sign in all the way in. Allow, and Firebase CLI login successfully, and that's great. And the third step is Firebase init. So you just have to say Firebase space init, which is going to initialize your project with Firebase services. In this case, we only need the hosting one, so we should be good. Are you ready to proceed? 100% yes. And then I just scroll down, and then you press space to make sure that you select. You see here they said press space, and as well, and then enter to proceed. So I'm only gonna need the hosting. I think I might choose the other one, because the GitHub Actions, what it does, it allows you to automatically deploy your things whenever you publish or whenever you commit your changes to GitHub. But that's a whole different topic that I will definitely take a look at on the second season of this Angular frontend. Use existing project, 100%. We are saying Kata store tutorial. Enter again. Hosting setup. What would you like to use as your public directory? So with this public directory, it's going to hold your builds files that you are going to make to be public, which means the ones that you're going to ship to your server or to Firebase so that the user can be able to see it, which is like your website. I'm just going to say yes to that. Set automatic builds and deploy on that. I'm going to say no in this case, but in the next one, we're going to say yes. Rewrote everything to that, and then it has completed that. It has added a few files. And it says the last command you have to do is Firebase deploy. Let's just follow that. I'm going to first clear what's here and then say Firebase deploy. Enter. Give it a few seconds. I mean, as it's doing the magic, I'm going to just say continue to the console. When I continue the console, you can see here there is like 2 links that if I click each one, they are supposed to show me site not found because there's no website that has been published yet to these URLs. Anyone in the world can access this. You can try this as well. Just access these URLs and then you should be able to see something maybe by the time you access. But now, since we have punched in this Firebase deploy, it should have pushed something that side as well. So let's go back and then refresh. Okay, it looks like there is something that was pushed up. It just didn't push up our website. It probably pushed the default index file that they have here on the index.html file, which is, I think it's this one. How you can prove that is I can just change this welcome to welcome Andy and then do a deploy again. And then that should go and update some stuff. I'm going to refresh. Oh, it's still finalizing. And if I do a refresh there, it should say welcome Andy. But then how do we then get our website deployed instead of this default index HTML file that they give us? You should see that if we write ng build, there should be some build files that Angular produces for us. And where they are going to, we should be able to see that if we go under Angular JSON, and you will see that here the builder will output these things to a dist cater store folder. I mean, I've already ran a first build, and if I go under this dist, and then you will see that there is a folder called browser and the server, and our stuff are probably pushed under here server, which means we need to ensure that our Firebase command knows where this index file is found, which makes this public directory redundant. So I can just delete it and I go to the Firebase, no, not this file, the Firebase JSON file, and then go and say dist. I think we just need the name from here. 1 sec. We need the dist cater store / and then we can say browser and then the index thing. You should be able to find it there, browser, and that is it. So which means if we run the ng build, which is this one, and then we run the Firebase deploy, it should be able to grab this index HTML and then publish it. If you didn't give the correct path, you should be able to see, or you will be able to see something like page not found. So it will say this file does not exist and there was no index HTML found in the current directory or for file found in the root directory of the file you've pointed to. Just ensure you double check that. I am actually noticing something very weird. I'm not sure if you're going to experience this, right? But then it looks like when I run an ng build, my index file is being put under browser and then under a file called home. This will definitely give you a page not found error because it will always try to look for index.html whenever it goes under the browser folder. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm doing this right, but I'm just moving this index.html folder out, and then I'm just gonna delete that whole home folder manually. This is not the most recommended way, but I think I'm just getting something weird. Until I found something much better, then yeah, this is the way we go. And then once I put that there, you can see this is the cater store, and then it has a couple of files in there, and then we should be able to see some magic. And if you go back to your URL, you will see that you can go to the URL that you initially given, and then it will be able to show your website. But if you try to refresh, it will tell you page not found. To solve this, you can actually just go to your Firebase JSON, and inside this hosting object, then you can just paste this. So what it's saying the rewrite rule is make sure that should the source not be known by your URL, redirect to the index HTML and let the indexed HTML handle the rerouting. The reason why this issue is happening is because your Angular app is an SPA, which is a single page application, which means only a single file is actually known by your endpoint, like that, right? But then if you give it this configuration, then you're telling it that should anyone come with anything in front of the URL, could be some weird characters or whatever, should be redirected back to the index HTML, which in our case, the index HTML knows what to do. It can be able to move between the product page, the product details, and all those other fancy stuff. So this is quite important in any Angular application deployed in Firebase, this rewrite rule. So once we have that, we just save it, and then I do the Firebase deploy, and it should be able to fix such a problem. Now it's done deploying again. So if I go to this page and then refresh, you see it's all good. If I go to the other pages, it's just taking some time because I think I've used very big assets for these images. And even if I put in an invalid URL, it will follow the normal rules that I've put on my Angular app to say at least go redirect back to the home page. And that is it about deployments. Thank you very much for watching this very, very long video and a very long series. It means so much to me. The comments, the likes, the views, and everything that I got to receive throughout this whole series means so much. So if you're watching this one, please don't forget to leave a comment or a like and a suggestion, definitely, of what other topics you would like to look at, either in Angular or any other framework that you think is quite important and quite emerging right now. Some of the more advanced topics that we could cover in Angular could include things like advanced hosting, which is the topic that we covered on this video, HTTPs, APIs, auth guards, interceptors, and many other exciting topics in Angular. So be sure to just leave a comment to say, okay, you would like to look at, advanced topics, or you would like to look at this and that, and I'll definitely take a look at it, and then we'll reprioritize our list. Otherwise, don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with the latest episode and the new series that we're going to have. It means so much to the channel and myself that you participate and support and hit the subscribe button. Thank you again for your participation and your engagement throughout this whole series. Otherwise, see you on the next one. Cheers.